Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we are going to see the continuation of UGC NET JRF English paper 2 of 2023, and let's continue from 21st question. Who among the following translated Aristotle's Poetics in Latin? Option A, Giorgio Valla. Option B, Pierre Corneille. Option C, Hugh Trendennick. Option D, W. Hamilton Fyfe. So among these, Aristotle's Poetics was translated to Latin by Giorgio Valla. Aristotle's Poetics was translated in Latin by him from a Greek manuscript he owned, and that translation published in 1498. Let's have it in mind. Poetics by Aristotle, it was translated to Latin by Giorgio Valla in 1498. Poetics is the earliest surviving work of Aristotle and his Greek dramatic theory, and the first extant philosophical treatise to focus on literary theory. Okay, the 22nd question is, which poems have not been composed by Adrian Rich? See, these three options was composed by Adrian Rich. Snapshots of Daughter-in-Law was the first, and Driving into the Wreck was the second, and third one was Transcendental Etude. These were composed by Adrian Rich, but Adrian Rich is a feminist writer. The Applicant, Ripples on the Surface, was not composed by Adrian Rich. Let's see who has written this. The right option is D and E. Driving into the Wreck, 1972. Transcendental Etude, 1977. Snapshots of a Daughter-in-Law, 1963. Are written by an American poet, Adrian Rich, while The Applicant, 1962, and Ripples on the Surface were written by Sylvia Plath and Gary Sinder. So, The Applicant by Sylvia Plath and Ripples on the Surface by Gary Sinder. 23rd question. Which of the following novels are written by Wilkie Collins? See, the among these novels, Basil and the Woman in White were written by Wilkie Collins. And let's see the other works were written by whom. A Tale of a Tub was by Jonathan Swift in 1704. So have it in mind. Tale of a Tub, 1704 by Jonathan Swift. Lapsing, Jill Paton Walsh. A School for Lovers was written by Jill Paton Walsh. Okay. So among these, two were written by the same person, Jill Paton Walsh. That is Lapsing and School for Lovers. Let's move on to the next question. In a novel of Charles Dickens, a high-spirited boy of 19 is left penniless along with his mother and sister Kate on the death of his father. Which of the following is the novel? I think so, that is Nicholas Nickleby. Yes. Nicholas Nickleby was published in 1839. 1839 is a novel by Charles Dickens in which a high-spirited boy of 19 years old is left penniless along with his mother and sister Kate on the death of his father. Dickens wrote Nicholas Nickleby with the intention of exposing the abuses of for-profit boarding schools in England. His third novel, Nicholas Nickleby, published in 1839, focuses on titular hero Nicholas and explores the danger of greed, the sublimity of family, and the central importance of maintaining one's ethical values. Next, the 25th question is, who composed Lucasta, posthumous poems published posthumously? So, after the death of the writer, it was published. Who is he? Option A, George Herbert. Option B, Thomas Carey. Option C, Richard Lovelace. Option D, Sir John Suckling. The right option is option C, Richard Lovelace. Lucasta, Lovelace. You can have this as a code word, Lovelace, Lucasta. Richard Lovelace composed Lucasta, posthumous poems published posthumously in 1659 to 1660. Richard Lovelace was an English poet in the 17th century. He was a cavalier poet. You can also have this as an additional information. He is one of the cavalier poets who fought on behalf of Charles I during the English Civil War. His renowned works are To Lucasta, Going to the Wars, To Althea from Prison. To Lucasta, Going to the Wars. Let's say together. Lucasta, To Lucasta, Going to the Wars, To Althea from Prison. The next question is, match the following. Charles Lamb, William Hazlitt, Walter Savage Landor, Thomas Love Peacock. Let's match. So, Charles Lamb's Specimens of English Dramatic Poets Who Lived About the Time of Shakespeare, 1808, is an anthology with brief but cogent critical comments of extracts of scenes and speeches from Elizabethan and Jacobean dramatists. Let's have the work as well as the author as well as the year, because they can ask in chronology. They can ask as a form of chronological question. So we have to by heart these three together, and it will be useful for us in many ways. So specimens, Charles Lamb's Specimens of English Dramatic Poets Who Lived About the Time of Shakespeare. It was published in 1808. Charles Dickens, English Dramatic Specimens. You can have this as a code word. And William Hazlitt's Characters of Shakespeare's Plays. So Hazlitt has made a characterization of William Shakespeare's plays that was published in 1817. Charles Dickens' Specimen English Drama is 1808. This is English 1817. It's a book of criticism of Shakespeare's plays. Imaginary Conversations is Walter Savage Landor. You can have this as a code word, as Walter is always imagining. So Walter Savage Landor has written Imaginary Conversations. It is this most celebrated prose work. It is his most celebrated prose work. And Gryll Grange is the seventh and final novel of Thomas Love Peacock, published in 1861. You can go and search in the Google that when was Imaginary Conversations was published by Walter. Gryll Grange is the seventh and final novel of Thomas Love Peacock. It was published in 1861. So Peacock was in the Ganges. You know, Ganges is the river, but here R is included. So Peacock is dancing in the Ganges. 1861. So Charles Lamb's Specimen of English Drama is 1808, and Walter Savage, he is imagining Imaginary Conversations. And then William Hazlitt, he has written the Characters of Shakespeare's Plays that was by Hazlitt, and it was published in 1817. Let's move on to the next question, 27. Who among the following as the proprietor of the Rose Theatre repaired it in 1592 and in 1595 and spent substantial sums on renovating and expanding his theatre? Option A, James Burbage. Option B, Philip Henslowe. Option C, Richard Burbage. Option D, Francis Langley. The right option is option B, Philip Henslowe. Rose Theatre was built in 1587. You can have this in your mind, both the year as well as the construction time of the theatre. The name of the theatre as well as the year which was constructed, 1587, because they could ask like Rose Theatre, Globe Theatre, Swan Theatre, arrange this in chronological order. Then it is easy to jot down it according to the chronological order. Rose Theatre 1587. Rose Theatre 1587 by Philip Henslowe and by a grocer named Joe Chomley. It was repaired in 1592 and 95. So it was built in 1587 and was repaired in 1592 and in 1595 and spent substantial sums on renovating and expanding his theatre. So it was built on 1587 and was repaired on 1592 and in 1595. Arrange the chronological sequence in which the following works were published: Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, Middlemarch, The Return of the Native, The Newcomes. Let's see what is the answer. The right option is answer B. The chronological sequence of the given work is A, E, B, C, D. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, Newcomes by William Makepeace Thackeray, A Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens, Middlemarch, George Eliot, Return of the Native, Thomas Hardy. Let's by heart all those works. Jane Eyre 1847, it's the most important work in literature. 1847, Jane Eyre 1847 by Charlotte Brontë. The Newcomes 1855 by William Makepeace Thackeray. A Tale of Two Cities is also a most prominent work of Charles Dickens. It was published in the year 1859. Jane Eyre 1847, Newcomes 1855, Tale of Two Cities 1859, Middlemarch 1875. Middlemarch is also the most prominent and renowned work of George Eliot that was published in 1875. Newcomes was published in 1855. Middlemarch was published in 1875. The Return of the Native, it is one of his novels, which was written by Thomas Hardy. You know, the other novels, Tess of the D'Urbervilles and Far from the Madding Crowd. You know, Bathsheba Everdeen is the protagonist of the play. Gabrielle Oak as well as Bathsheba Everdeen, their relationship will be portrayed by Thomas Hardy. So, Jane Eyre 1847, Newcomes 1855, Tale of Two Cities 1859, Middlemarch 1875, The Return of the Native 1878 by Thomas Hardy. So guys, that's it for this video, and we'll meet soon in the next video. Let's crack together this exam by God's grace, and bye from UGC Net English Literature.